the news of the day, of course, is that Nebraska does indeed have a defensive coordinator. Tony White from Syracuse is the guy for Matt Rule. Been there for a couple years.
Not Syracuse, Nebraska.
No, yet not yet. What, the Rockets here, the Jets, Rockets.
Yeah,
high school. Yeah,
it's not Orange.
The Syracuse Orange of the ACC, who had a great start to the year, and then you brought them a curse. You said these airwaves, they won't win a game the rest of the year. I believe they won one game and lost their last 5 after that. But the defense, Sip, was not bad. I mean, Tony White, in the conversation that you'll be having for the whole next year, the offseason, in the spring, in recruiting, during the season, is going to be, does Tony White operate a 3-3-5 defense in the Big Ten?
Please stop.
I'm just telling you, that's the question. Please
no, it's not.
Answer the question for the people that are curious.
When Nebraska is in the nickel, it's basically a 3-3-5. What are we talking about? Why
you got to calm people down. This is where you're the voice of the reason on it. Voice of reason.
Okay, I'll calm down. Oh, because I have coffee.
We got coffee.
I better drink some coffee right now.
Have a sip, because you need to help be the voice of reason for people who are concerned.
Who is concerned? Why is it?
I'm not concerned. I think his defense is to be great here.
When Nebraska's in the nickel, they're essentially in a 3-3-5.
So, okay, there you go. Calming people down already.
Yeah. The 4-3-3-4, 3-3-5 defense is one of the most overblown things you'll ever find.
There we go. Keep it going.
Yeah.
Tell people.
Okay, Wisconsin, Sip, they're a 3-4 team. Yes, look at Wisconsin. When they snap the ball, they're often in a 4-3. They just go back and forth. I don't understand the discussion. Now, the one part of it that's germane, I guess, is that, 3-man front, you need a nose over the center and blah, blah, blah. And you better have that guy. And if you don't, it's kind of hard to do it, but you can. But I'm not. You can change it. I mean, I don't know if he's married to I don't even know why we're talking about it.
Well, because he was hired, and that's what he ran most recently at Syracuse. That's why you're talking about it.
And I guess it's because Pete Thamel, sports writer, identified it in his little Twitter post.
He did.
White runs a 3-3-5. I wrote it. I shouldn't have, but I did. Anyway, let's get out of that. White, I'll tell you what this hire is. Can I just use an analogy?
I'd like to know what you think this hire is.
Can I use an analogy?
Please.
Tony White, to me, it hit me like a fastball running in on my fist. This ball doesn't look like too much of a problem. And then, bam, it's right on you. Great pitch. Great hire. So it's
a good slider then, or what?
No, it's a fastball running in on your hands that you didn't expect.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't like that analogy. I like it. It's a good pitch.
Was it a strike though?
Yeah, it's a good pitch.
If it's on your hands, it wasn't a strike.
I swung.
Okay.
Yeah, I swung. And it's a good pitch. It hit me kind of slow. Ooh. It really, as you read about him, it really grows on you. I think it's a sneaky good hire.
I do too.
A sneaky good fastball.
The more I read
about
him.
Can I say it that way? Well, a sneaky good fastball.
I like a late movement slider.
Okay, it's a late movement slider.
I don't.
All right, don't get.
Why can't this be a strike? Why do you have to swing at it? That's not the strike zone.
Yeah, no, this was good.
This slider.
I'm glad we agree on this.
I like him.
Yeah,
I'm optimistic about Tony White.
Yeah, he's young, so he kind of fits that part of what Matt Rule identified. He likes the idea of having young guys, energetic guys. Now that's not his Tony White's foremost attribute. I mean, what he did at Syracuse was orchestrate quite a turnaround, right?
Right. The year before he got there, Syracuse finished number 115 nationally in total defense. Okay. 2 years later, last season, 2021, they were 19th in the country. Okay. Number 19. This year, they were 29th.
Yep.
So still pretty solid.
They got to the bowl game by their defense, not by their offense.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Their offense was 89th nationally in total offense. Their defense carried the load.
I like, this is from the ESPN article about it. How about this? This might excite fans. Okay. It says White's defenses are known to be unpredictable and aggressive, as he finished second in the ACC in 2021 by yielding 330 yards per game. You'll see a lot of blitzing from Tony White.
I like it. You like it.
I like it.
I'm glad you like it. I wondered if you were going to come in here and growl.
Well, here's the deal. I mean, I was like most fans where I'd never heard the guy before. So, okay, I think I wasn't grousing over here.
No, you weren't.
Yeah.
I thought
you just assumed I'd be like nitpicking this.
Yeah.
Let me take you back in time to me on my chair yesterday as I got the news on Twitter. I said, I've never heard of Tony White.
Right.
I hadn't
either.
It wasn't like, I've never heard of this guy. It was, I've never heard of this guy in an optimistic way. Okay. As you know, I've been pessimistic for quite some time on the show, but that was an optimistic, never heard of this guy. So I researched him. I said, okay, all right.
Yeah.
This guy seems okay.
I know. Same.
It doesn't have to be somebody that we knew of. That's not required to be a good hire for this program.
Nope. I agree.
And it doesn't feel like to me it's a stretch. Like, we have to believe this might work or it could work. I mean, I feel like the guy gets it.
He gets it.
He gets it.
His defense calls itself the mob at Syracuse because of a mentality it seeks to achieve, which was summed up pretty well by Marlowe Wax, one of their linebackers.
Great name.
Marlowe Wax. He said the ball is the main thing in football, so if we all attack it, if all 11 people try to attack it at once, good things are going to happen. Good things happen. Okay. This White really built his resume under Rocky Long. Had a great run. Those two, others, but he had a really good run at South Dakota State, and where he was mainly secondary coach, but I mean they had a really good run at South Dakota State. They won the Mountain West 3 times: 2012, 2015, 2016. Rocky Long, I'm sure he'll talk about. I'm sure Tony White will talk about Rocky Long a lot. And then he had a good little run, Tony White at ASU. Just a brief stint. It looks like he was like an interim DC.
He was interim for the bowl game.
Yeah,
which they won 20-14.
Yeah, so he did well there, and then got his big break at Syracuse and made it happen. He's 40. He went there as a 39-year-old, 40-year-old young guy, young defensive coordinator, and made it happen. Syracuse's defense got good, and it was the impetus to Syracuse getting to a bowl game this year. It wasn't the offense. They didn't have a good offense.
But San Diego State, not South Dakota State.
Yeah, I hope to God I said San Diego State.
You said South Dakota
State.
State.
Oh, did I? Okay.
I failed to correct you, but now
my bad.
Correct. San Diego State,
Mountain
West Coast.
But I said Mountain West. South Dakota State's not in the mountain.
They're not.
So, my bad. But anyway, it's San Diego State. He did a good job there. He did cross paths with Rules at UCLA, but he was a player at UCLA when Rule was an assistant coach. They never coached together. This is, he's highly thought of because he was in 220. He was the highest paid assistant coach that Syracuse has ever had. They paid him more money than they paid any assistant in their history.
Well, yeah, I like to research. I like to see kind of the comments on the way out from fans.
Okay, what they say.
My God, they are sad to see him go.
Is that right?
Oh yeah.
I didn't see that. Where did you see that?
Well, if you go like to any sort of post from a Syracuse writer or any sort of news up there, you kind of see what's the comments.
Teach
on
me
Twitter.
About social media.
Well, it's very simple.
I'm joking.
But you, I could teach you.
But really, is that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was like 100% like crap. This is bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
So whereas
too bad.
Whereas Marcus Satterfield, when he came from South Carolina, wasn't greeted with a lot of sadness. Some like, okay, that kind of sucks, but we'll move on. Mm-hmm. But mostly, we're ready for something else. For Tony White, it was, oh my God, that was our dude. Okay. That's the guy that made us what we were. Yeah. That's a huge loss. Yeah. Why couldn't you keep him here? Or the head coach, why couldn't you keep him? So,
well, here's why.
This is someone they wanted to keep.
Because he got a big raise. Now, we don't know what he was. Okay, so they paid him $711,000 in 2020, but Syracuse is a private university, which I didn't know. So I don't know what he was making this season. But for some reason, there were reports about 2020, the newspaper entities or whatever the media entities are got tax returns and figured out he was making $711,000, which was the most they've paid any assistant coach, apparently. But I guarantee you he's here because Nebraska had that big pot of money, and they could probably pay him over $1 million, is my guess, right?
I think so.
I think he went from probably making in the mid 700s to $1 million plus.
Well, we know that Nebraska has still quite a bit of money left in that pot, it appears.
I don't know
from what their hires have been so far.
I haven't added it up. I don't even know what the numbers are. We don't know. I don't know what
I think we're just assuming some numbers there. But
Yeah.
we assume that White and Satterfield will both be over $1 million. $1 million.
Yes, I
both
would think so. Yeah.
Each.
Yeah, not far over.
No, I'm not thinking. No, not far, but $1 million plus.
Right. So there you go. I think you feel good about this one.
You do. And again, we talked about this week about it appears Nebraska has their secondary coach before you had your defensive coordinator in Cooper, right? Evan Cooper. You've got your defensive line coach in Terrence Knighton.
Mm-hmm. Pretty young staff now that you're going through it. Pretty bunch of young guys.
Yep. Well, that's what Matt Rule said he wanted.
Right. So
now, if you're Tony White, I mean,
we know the linebackers coach, but I can't say his name. So they got our linebacker.
But isn't that if you are Tony White, you accepted the job, you're taking it, but you can't bring any of your guys with you, basically, because they've already been picked out here defensively.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know how that. I don't know. I don't want to go too far into judging that because maybe this had been in the works.
Possible.
White knew those guys. I don't know.
What was your guys' response? 402-464-56852 to Tony White being named Nebraska's defensive coordinator for Matt Rule. Optimistic, pessimistic, just curious in general. 464-5685.
Yeah, what are we hearing?
What
are you hearing on the text line? That's a form of social media you can teach me about.
Well, Wet Blanket's here, and it's always a
WB.
Yep, WB is here. Let's see. He's Wet Blanket says a couple things. He says Rule is recruiting track athletes, retaining the coach of the worst position group on the team, and running a Big 12 defensive scheme. The shine from that opening press conference is fading fast. Also says Syracuse rush defense was number 73 in the country, ranked just behind Akron, Eastern Michigan, and West Virginia while playing against ACC competition. Woohoo.
Yeah, they weren't great against the run. I don't know what.
Well, that's why Wet Blanket's here.
Yeah. Okay.
Pour some cold water on things.
The whole. I mean, I'd have to look into it a little further on what they had personnel-wise before I get up in arms about the run defense. Just like at Nebraska, you gotta if you look at Nebraska's rush offense, wouldn't you have to say I better look at what the offensive line has? They don't have much. Maybe Syracuse didn't have much up front. That's why stats in a vacuum are dangerous, right? Stats in a vacuum, WB, are dangerous. But now WB would come back and say, oh, yeah, well, you're happy to illustrate why you like him with stats. So what's wrong with
good for you for showing both sides?
Right. So what's wrong with going back at you with stats?
There's nothing.
Again, vacuum. So that's dangerous. I try not to do it. The most informative thing to do is to go watch them. Right, Jake?
Yes. Yep.
Why are you smiling?
Well, we got Greg at Myrtle Beach.
Oh, okay.
And Greg always has a comment.
I'd like to know it.
We like Greg's comments. Greg at Myrtle Beach in the text line says,
good morning, Greg.
The stats have tricked you again. They shut out Wagner. They held mighty UConn to 14.
Mm-hmm.
Real teams lit Tony White up. Notre Dame scored 41. Florida State 38. And Wake Forest waxed them with 45. Laughable hire, says Greg. Greg is not keen so far on what's going on here at Nebraska with the Matt Rule hire and his assistants so far.
No, that's fine.
Not a big fan of Satterfield on offense either.
We
need Greg to be wrong. We love Greg, but for the sake of this program, and
we do need
Greg. And with Greg, we need you to be wrong.
We need Greg to be wrong
because we need to win. We're sick of losing.
Heat in here. Hey, Greg, I'm still saying promising hire. Can we just say, Jake? I'm saying promising, sneaky good hire.
I'm optimistic.
I'm not saying it's Charlie McBride. Okay. I'm saying promising, sneaky good hire. Okay. And I'm keeping an open mind about the staff, Greg. Greg, amigo, our amigo, Wet Blanket, our amigos. Can I talk to you for a second? Can't you at least give them a chance? before you just throw down the gauntlet of this is awful.
Doom.
Yeah, the gauntlet of doom.
Constant doom.
Well,
coach is hired. Doom's already started.
There's enough constant doom in our world. Just for a second, just say, let's see what these guys got.
Yeah, Greg, wet blanket. Can we have
Amigos.
a brief bit of optimism?
And
what's the bright side, guys? Can we see a bright side of these coaches?
And amigos, there's enough there to see a bright side. There is. There's enough there. Especially with Tony White, there's enough there. I mean, he did, Greg, wet blanket. He did orchestrate a turnaround in that Syracuse defense. Maybe not the turnaround that you wanted. Maybe not enough, but it was better. He left it better than he found it, right?
Well, it reminds me a little bit, Sip.
Is that right?
It reminds me a little bit of the situation with Illinois because they got Ryan Walters from Missouri, right?
Yeah.
And Missouri was not a great – they were a fine program, but, again, a team that scuffled. Defense got better. He goes to Illinois. Great defense this year. Top 10 defense. Syracuse, Tony White inherits crap up there. Again, in the 120 or 115s for whatever, 120 defense when he got there, and then they went to 21st, now they're 29th in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Can he have that kind of leap at Nebraska?
That'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get a call from Paul, who is excited about Tony White. Paul, you're on early break. Go ahead.
How are you guys doing?
Hey, Paul, thanks for calling.
Yeah, they're just the Debbie Downers out there are getting to be a little too much. I thought I needed to shine some light here.
Okay.
I mean, maybe I don't have a whole lot of facts might be the problem here, but looking at the guy, it does look exciting to me. He's been doing this defense I think he played in this defense. The articles I was reading is one of the guys that kind of perfected this defense he learned under. The thing I'm hopefully will be exciting is to see what, and I don't know, Sid, maybe you know the answer to this. Is he going to be allowed to coach when Syracuse plays Minnesota? Because that could be real interesting to see what that defense can do against a Big Ten team that's pretty darn good, as much as I hate to admit that. Do you know, Sip, is that going to be allowed?
We don't know what his level of involvement, or when he'll come over. I don't know. I talked to a Syracuse writer, and she didn't know that. It's not even official at Nebraska, so we'll have to see. But whatever. I mean, it's a good problem. It's a great problem to have if he has to coach.
It's a great, it is. I mean, So to me, the hire is it's encouraging for sure.
Yes,
it's not one of his normal guys. I like that he went outside his comfort zone. He's trying something a little different. So to me, I don't see why we need to be so Debbie Downer about the whole thing. But anything with Nebraska football anymore, I do try to look at with a little bit of cautious optimism.
Good idea.
But when you look at all the other guys that are being hired, and I think we got the right guy. You go back and watch some of his old videos. Matt Rule's a heck of a guy. I think some kids are going to really buy into him, and I think he's putting together a pretty darn good staff here, guys.
Yeah.
All right, Paul, thanks for the phone call.
Cautious optimism, though. There's no doubt about that this hire has a way different feel than previous ones, right? It's pretty cautious out there.
Oh, it is. Well, as it should be.
Yes.
You can't go all – we have been poisoned by Kool-Aid that just was terrible. And still our stomachs are still recovering.
It attacked our intestines.
We were in the hospital for a while.
Yeah. Hospitalized.
Here from John in the text line. Here's John.
We were not hospitalized.
Theoretically, hypothetically. John says, I live in a world of sadness and disappointment. I'm a Nebraska fan. It's all I have. That's John. In terms of why people are, poo-pooing any sort of hires.
I live in a world of sadness and disappointment.
Wet blanket is back again. WB. Says, I tried optimism last year when Sip told me that the O-line was firing off the ball and Caleb Tanner was a wrecking ball, a pass rushing machine. How'd that work out for me?
Not very well. Caleb Tanner didn't have that bad a year.
No, he didn't. It wasn't a superstar, but he was fine.
Yeah, let's not do that to Caleb Tanner.
You know what did freak out people yesterday before we get one more phone call?
Okay, what?
This is not regarding Tony White. Well, it kind of is regarding Tony White because it's his side of the ball.
What?
Do you know who was at the Iowa State men's basketball game last night?
No.
Ernest Hausman.
Ooh.
And that game was in Iowa City.
Ooh.
He was visiting the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Ooh.
And at a basketball game where Iowa crushed Iowa State.
Ooh. Why?
Why?
What?
Seeing those guys go to the pros.
You know what I'd say to Ernest?
What'd you say?
I'd say, Ernest, I was playing for the division championship against you. You had a good game. Did you notice the crowd wasn't that good? You notice the empty seats? Did you notice the lack of enthusiasm? Why would you want to go there?
Well, how many tickets were sold for the Wisconsin-Nebraska game? 50,000? Or how many people were in attendance for the Nebraska-Wisconsin game the week before?
Well, they weren't playing for anything. If Nebraska's playing for a division championship,
Fair.
How many people would be at? I mean, come on.
Fair.
Yeah. I'm drinking coffee.
I know. I appreciate that. I'm not trying to rattle you over there.
Yeah,
I'm just bringing up a point.
Came up with it. Well, it was not very.
Well, you were right, though. They were playing for a division
idiotic.
title. They were playing for a division title.
Yeah.
You were correct
in
your argument there.
And idiotic would be. It wouldn't just say that was an idiotic.
It wasn't idiotic. It wasn't the best. I would just say that would be a kick in the you-know-what if Ernest went to Iowa.
Yes.
It's one thing to go out of the conference. We root for you at other places. God. You go in the same division for at least 1 year.
Is it
before it changes?
4.64, 5.685. Is that a kick?
Yeah. It's a big old. If you were to commit, that's a big kick to the you-know-what.
I think it is. I'd say Wisconsin, similar kick. Minnesota, similar kick.
It hurts more at Iowa.
Yeah.
The kick hurts worse if you go to Iowa.
Yeah. Michigan wouldn't be a big kick.
No.
It would.
I'd say, well, okay, great. Playoff team.
I'd be envious.
Sure. Iowa. Ernest, we just beat those guys.
Yeah. And Ferentz, I mean, what are you going to do with how long Ferentz going to be there? I mean, Ferentz is how old? I think he's knocking on 69.
What do you want to take a guess?
I think he's 70, 68, 69, 70. One of the three. 68,
67.
Oh.
Now, when does he turn 68 is the question. I turned 68 in August, so.
Okay. He's 67.
67 years old. Kirk Ferentz.
Well, maybe he's got another.
How long is Phil Parker there?
Yeah.
That's the genius behind the defense.
God, Hausman was at Iowa? All right, we got another call.
Okay, one more call before we get to break. John, you're on early break. Go ahead, John.
I just don't understand the Tony White hire coming from the ACC and all. So it's kind of sketchy to me.
Okay.
About it.
What? Okay, now what about the ACC part of it concerns you? John.
I think we lost John.
Yeah.
All right, well, John's concerned. We know that.
Is it? Help me with that, Jake.
Well, the ACC is not quite the toughness and physicality of the Big Ten. Probably that's what he's going for there.
Yeah.
You don't think of those schools as tough and physical like this league is.
I think of Clemson that way.
To a certain extent. Mm-hmm. Are they tougher than Michigan?
You see Wake Forest? Wake Forest runs the ball now.
Mm-hmm.
Wake Forest runs the ball. I don't know. I don't watch that conference very closely. Florida State's not very physical. I'll say that.
I think
they're 9-3.
Going back to a previous text, I mean, the one that said that Syracuse ranked in the 70s in terms of rush defense this year. That's concerning.
68th.
Okay, 68th.
Yeah. 68th.
That's where a fan might say, well, we got to stop the run in this conference. Got to be physical.